garden or decorating your home, who better, really, to ask for help than our next guest? She's written several books on everything from gardening to decorating. Her latest book is Menus for Entertaining. Please welcome the nationally known authority on taste and style, Martha Stewart.
Well, Martha, so far throughout the show, we've been getting all sorts of tips on perfect gardening and how to have a perfect yard. So, of course, we want yours. Any tips you want to share?
My friend Jerry's here.
Yes, the master gardener was giving us all sorts of tips. What can you share with us if you want to give us some last-minute perfect gardening tips?
Well, right now, the gardens have had their first fabulous spring bloom, and it's now time to really go ahead and deadhead and clean up the garden and make sure you're underplanting all those big plants with beautiful annuals, maybe for later summer bloom.
Now we're going to come right to the audience who's been waiting for you with bated breath, and they've got some gardening questions.
Yes, well, I didn't have as many blooms on my rhododendrons this year, and they seem to have a sticky substance on the leaves. I was wondering if it's a mite or something I should spray, and it's been real hot here. Is there a good time to spray? Or
well, always in the cool. Don't spray in the hot sun or in the heat of the day. It's really important to spray. Identify the problem first. Take it to your garden center, and they'll help identify what's really happening. And then spray in the cool of the day, on a cool, non-rainy day. And maybe they need food.
I have several rose bushes. I would like to know what is the best time for me to trim my rose bushes back.
Well, old roses, which are the old-fashioned English and French roses, those shrub roses, those are best to be pruned after they bloom. The tea roses I always prune before they bloom in the spring, after the winter, and take away, just shape them nicely and cut them down quite a bit, because tea roses, hybrid teas, really need that early spring pruning. But if you prune the old shrub roses before they bloom, you're taking away an awful lot of flowers.
Another question for you over here.
I was wondering with impatiens, which a lot of people have, that get spindly, can you pinch them back to make them fuller?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Keep cutting those back, and especially early, because they'll branch out more if you keep trimming them before they really grow.
I transplanted some peonies about 3 years ago, and they really just bloomed well this year, and it's grown so much that I want to move them. But
Why?
Well, because it's too big. It's too big for the area where it's planted now, because it's grown that well. I was wondering, is there a secret to moving them so that they'll bloom again?
Well,
it'll take 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's just pitiful. When you waited 3 years, leave them for another year. Get some more gorgeous blooms next year. Some perennials really don't like to be moved a lot. Peonies are one of those perennials, and once it's established, they'll just keep coming back year after year in a most beautiful fashion. But if you really have to move them, best time is in late summer, after all the foliage has sort of died back, turned brown. Cut it off very carefully above the ground, and then dig them up and divide with a sharp knife those eyes, those peony, the roots, which have the pink eyes emerging for next year's growth. And leave the roots large. You really want them to be large, and plant larger pieces, and then maybe you'll get at least a few flowers next spring.
Okay. Do iris like to be transplanted?
Oh, iris love. Now, iris you have to divide and transplant. Peonies less frequently. In fact, some peony borders are 20 years old at my house, and you don't even want to touch them because they're so amazing. But iris should always be dug after they bloom, like in July, and cut those rhizomes neatly, and you take away anything that's softer or mushy, and then replant them.
Well, now that we've got the garden all looking so absolutely gorgeous, it's time to, as you suggest, maybe entertain. In your new book, you talk about using antiques outside to entertain. Why antiques?
Well, I have a lot of old things. Some of them were not meant for entertaining, like old wooden wheelbarrows, which I have. They're not real good wheelbarrows because the wheel is so big and they're very unwieldy when you fill them up. But they're terrific as bars outside. You can put a tray in them. You can move your dishes and glassware and whatever, your food around in these little wheelbarrows. But they're also very nice just for serving like a tray of glasses with iced tea. I found another thing, an old country store, a Lazy Susan, which was probably a display unit in some store. But I bought it, and it's a wonderful thing for outdoor entertaining because it can sit outdoors. It's old weathered wood, and each level turns. I think we have some pictures. Did we bring some?
Yeah, we're going to take a look at some of those suggestions.
That's
there
a fantastic item. It's quite large, and I just line each of those levels with cabbage leaves or kale leaves, and on top of those leaves I place my hors d'oeuvres. There you can see right there, and it's so nice for outdoors. But that's just something that was unexpected good luck that it really worked so well outside.
Now, cooling racks. You use cooling racks?
Well, those are the old little wire woven racks. They were meant to cool pies or breads out of the oven, but they're see how pretty they are also for outdoors, for the hors d'oeuvre serving. All of those little old cooling racks really work very, very well. And they look country and they look nice.
Yeah, I think we're going to go back to some questions again. You had one. Please stand up. Now, these might be general gardening, or they might be
great
entertaining
questions, by the way.
too.
What a knowledgeable audience.
Well, we have like gardening experts.
Well, you do.
Detroit area audience, don't we? That's it.
I have daffodils, and I understand when you cut them that milk sap can be irritating to your skin. I understand, well, besides wearing gloves, what else can you do to be able to identify which plants may have a sap, a milk sap to it that may be irritating to
Well,
you?
there are a lot of plants that are irritating, and one real good way to find out if a plant is friendly or not is, do the deer eat it? In our neighborhood, daffodils are one of the very beautiful spring flowers that deer won't touch. So if you have a deer problem, you have to identify all those spring flowers that varmints don't like to eat. Rhubarb's another one that nobody will touch. Daffodils, certain shrubberies the deer won't eat. But it doesn't. I've never experienced any. Do you get a rash from the daffodil?
Sometimes I get a little irritation.
Oh, rue. There's a herb called rue that is a beautiful, bushy, silvery green, bluish green herb. It grows well. I went and cut it down last year just to take some cuttings from my house. I was covered with rashes all up my arms. And I didn't know that. But you find those things out by, nothing in your garden, unless it's poison ivy or poison oak, is going to really make you hideously sick, I don't think. But do some reading. If you find something's irritating you, investigate a little bit.
Martha, I would like your suggestion for planting a tree. I'd like a wonderful big tree that I could enjoy within the next 20 years, but that would have a long life. I've thought of the ginkgo. I saw you trimming that on a show. Or linden, or I'm really very open.
Oh, well, we just finished an article on how to plant a tree. We've also done a segment on the television program. I don't know if you saw it, but they are expensive now. If you buy a tree over a certain dimension, they're very expensive. So you have to determine what your budget will bear before you go out and buy that tree. But beech trees are beautiful for longevity. Maple trees are very beautiful. Lindens, I'm happy to hear you mention a linden. We have a linden tree that was planted early on my property, probably around the turn of the century, and it's the most magnificent tree on my property. But ginkgos are fast-growing. They're not terribly expensive trees. Do you have a good nursery here that you can go and buy pretty big trees? Mm-hmm. And they charge by the diameter of the trunk. And so something that's going to be like, I'd say 8 inches in diameter might run you, even up to $10,000 some of these trees cost. So you have to really go and do some investigation. But identify how big you want the tree to grow, find something that will mature to that height and that width, and then plant it. Good luck. I think planting trees is a real important thing for us to be doing. Not for us so much, because we're not going to see those trees at maturity, but for our children.
Certainly. Thank you.
Another question for you?
Yes, I'm wondering if you have some magic solution for a rabbit problem. I've tried sprinkling dried blood and
Everybody
cayenne
has
pepper.
this problem. I have bunny rabbits running around. The most effective solution, my 4 cats are very good. And my 2 vicious chow dogs, those dogs will not allow a rabbit on the property. But, I mean, really and truly, that's the kind of natural check that really works best. And other than, a radio won't do it, the dried blood, they'll just, they're hungry. They're lovely little critters. So just a pet would be better, a dog.
We have time for one more quick.
Okay, my husband planted some tomato plants, and I planted some tomato plants. I want mine to grow and bear more fruit than his.
What is this? Competition. I love it.
Dueling tomato
gardener. Are you in exactly the same place in the garden or different places?
Different places.
You got a better place open.
Are you full sun?
Yes.
Okay, is he full sun?
Yes.
Well, how about manure tea? Have you tried that?
No.
Okay, well, what we just made it at home in a barrel, we in a big piece of burlap, we put fresh horse manure. And then it's like a tea bag. You make a tea bag and you put it in water, let it just brew for a couple days, and start watering those tomatoes. I guarantee you'll have really delicious tomatoes.
And you'll beat them.
And we hope he didn't watch today and get the tip before she can use it. We'll
Yeah,
be
he better
right
not
back
be
and we'll let you know
watching.
where you can meet Martha Stewart. Please stay with us.